everyone. Thank you for coming. My role at the Commission is partnerships, but not all kinds of partnerships, only institutional partnerships and academic and exchange partnerships. I have been at the Commission for 3 years, and I'm very happy to be at the Commission because there are many opportunities to meet very interesting people. And this happens with applicants, prospective applicants, with scholars and with alumni. So my role at the Commission involves dealing with looking for sources for funding for the Commission for the scholarships that we have, and also follow up with all the alumni. We have about 5,000 of them between the US and Australia. The Fulbright program has a specific mission of promoting the cultural exchange between Australia and the US. And it is a program that has grown and continued to grow. Our first scholars in Australia went to the US are from the 1950s. So there are records there of someone going in 1950 to the US to do some studies. And the process has continued. Every year, around 30 Australians and 20 Americans switch places, cross the Pacific, and they start a new adventure, which is the Fulbright experience. The Fulbright Commission has 2 co-chairs, two heads or honorary co-chairs, and one of them is the US ambassador in turn, and the other one is the Prime Minister of Australia. The Fulbright program was established in 1946 after the experiences of the Second World War and the devastation that caused. And unfortunately, the program is very relevant still today in those terms. And I say unfortunately because we have many conflicts all around the world, and sometimes if people got to know each other a bit better, and if we were able to leave stereotypes aside, probably things would be different. There's a lot of sectarianism and wars everywhere. I don't have to tell you, you just have to look at the news today. This program grew up to be one of the largest of its kind in the world, embracing 160 countries and with more than 300,000 alumni worldwide. In Australia and New Zealand were some of the first countries to establish this program with the US. This is actually one of the first treaties between US and Australia in 1949 to create an exchange program which has continued since then. Roughly the composition of our alumni, as I told you before, is 2,700 Australian and 2,300 because the number has grown of Americans. So it's very close to 5,000 at the moment. The scholarships give you a good benefit. They are aimed to help you while you are in the US to your allowance in order for you to live there. So I was a student on scholarships my whole life until I finished the PhD. So when you are a student, you know that even if you have covered your tuition fees, you still need to live, and especially if you are in another country, that becomes very difficult. So the scholarship, it's aimed to your support for the students in those circumstances. We have an ASPE insurance of up to $100,000, and the package for this scholarship is $45,000 Australian. The scholarship, the postdoctoral scholarship, is from 3 to 10 months. It depends on your project and where you are going and what you're going to do. And the aim of the scholarship or the postdoctoral scholarship is for early career researchers. And that means someone who has finished the PhD in the last 3 years, roughly. Along this presentation, you can see photos of our sponsors, photos of our alumni and scholars in different occasions. In this one, for instance, you can see one of the alumni awarded this year with the W.G. Walker Scholarship, which is awarded to the highest ranking postgraduate students, surrounded by alumni of different ages and different disciplines as well. The scholarship is not only a pot of money that will help you to go to the US and do some studies there. The scholarship involves as well support in Australia and in the US. So while you are in the US, you receive different opportunities from the CIS, the Council for International Exchange of Scholars, which is a partner or organization in the US that helps us follow up with all the students that go there and all the scholars. You also receive an orientation and enrichment program in Australia before you go, before you leave to the US. This year we had that orientation program in Perth. We got all the Americans and all the Australians awarded this year, and they started the cultural exchange right there. You know, exchanging business cards, contacts, experiences about each other's countries, and started to learn that process. So it's a very when you come back, you become part of an alumni network as well, and we keep in contact with you for life. There's always something going on in Fulbright, different events, different opportunities. We have grants for alumni as well. After a few years that you were a scholar, you can apply for this grant and come back to the place where you had been before, and so on. So it is a door to a world of opportunities that continues much longer after you have done your scholarship experience. We have sponsor scholarships. If we just limited ourselves to the funding that we get from the Australian and the US governments, which is generous and we are very grateful for it, the size of the Fulbright program in Australia would be much more limited. So about 40% of scholarships come from different sources of funding as well. Sometimes a university will create a Fulbright scholarship in partnership with us. Sometimes state government, sometimes one of the departments, in this case the Department of Prime Minister and Cabinet, gave us an endowment of $1 million for the Indigenous Scholarship. The Indigenous Scholarship goes across all categories of the Fulbright scholarships, which are professional, postgraduate, postdoctoral, and senior. So you can apply for the postdoctoral scholarship, the general pool, or also for the Indigenous scholarship, and for some others. We have, for instance, a postdoctoral scholarship in cultural competence that will come up later on. There is among other scholarships, there is the South Australia Scholarship, sponsored by the government in South Australia, but also some universities. Nearly all universities in South Australia participated a few years ago in a fundraising effort, and now there's an endowment for this scholarship every year. So it's a scholarship for a resident in South Australia, and it goes up to $40,000 for postgraduate recipients, and then for postdoctoral it goes a little bit higher, as I told you before. Joel Fuller was awarded this scholarship this year. Now he's going to the University of Massachusetts to do some research in injury prevention strategies. Postdoctoral scholarship in cultural competence, the one that I mentioned before, sponsored by the University of Sydney, is focused on this topic of cultural competence, which means to overcome our illiteracy, so to speak, in cultural issues, to learn to appreciate diversity, and to not only to tolerate diversity, which we are used to that, okay, just respect people and don't just tolerate, No, it's aimed to appreciating difference and cultural differences. So it is. It can be the cultural differences that we find with First Australians, with the Aboriginal peoples, but the focus is much broader than that. It's also all kinds of cultural differences, and so it's a very interesting for those who are working in fields related to this. It's a very interesting opportunity. This scholarship offers a package that is even higher than the average one of $40,000. And this one goes to $59,000. The amount of time that you spend there is 3 to 10 months, as in the other scholarships, postdoctoral scholarships. But then you come back to the University of Sydney, which was a National Center for Cultural Competence, and stay there for 2 months to write up your conclusions and to leave something very concrete as a fruit of your research during your time in the US. The selection process is open on the 1st of May, so it has opened already, and it closes on the 1st of August. During this time, you can go to our website, look at the different options of scholarships, and then apply. Usually, the selection goes, first of all, on a regional basis. There is some regional selection process. Then it goes to a national committee. After that, there are interviews, and after the short list, there are interviews, and then there has to be an approval as well from Washington, from Fulbright in Washington, in the U.S. So the selection process is very, it's a tough selection process, but at the same time, the opportunities are there. It is important to consider if you want to apply. You never know what is the pool of applicants that year, and just to prepare your application and your interview as best as you can. Something important as well is the reference letters, which we'll speak about now. So the selection criteria, the first one is your academic excellence, which we will know by what you have written, the results that you have had so far in your career. That is a given. The relevance of the program for the binational relationship between Australia and the United States. So how much is your research going to impact in Australia when you come back? That's a very important one, especially when you have a sponsored scholarship like the South Australia Scholarship, for instance. You have to show that there is a relevance not only to Australia in general, but also to South Australia when you come back. The ambassadorial skills as well. So ambassadorial skills are leadership skills that you have, the capacity to think beyond your own field of research only and beyond your own project as well. So how you want to contribute to the country, to your university, to your home institution, and then adaptability, to being able to adapt to new ways of learning, to a cultural difference. Many people think that Australia and US might be more or less almost equivalent, just save for a few funny words here and there. But the more time you spend in the US, or the more time Americans come here and spend time here, they realize that there are actually many, many other differences, and it's actually a very enriching opportunity to be there. But because of that, you have to be adaptable to changes. The Fulbright scholarships in Australia are offered to Australians only. So you have to be an Australian citizen. If you have a dual citizenship with the US, so if you are American Australian, you cannot apply. And the reason is that the goal of this program is to generate this binational linkage and relationship. And if you have both nationalities, it is assumed that you already have that exchange, that experience. But it's not always the case. Someone may be, have been in the U.S., born in the U.S. and lived here their whole lives, and it's just that something unfortunate sometimes. But this is part of this is one of our rules. If you have dual citizenship from a different country, there is no problem. You can apply. As long as you are Australian citizen, then you can apply and go to the US. If you live in the US or work there or have a green card there and then come here to apply and go back, this is not acceptable. You must have lived in Australia at least 2 years before you can apply for that. For the application process, it's very important to read the website, go to the frequently asked questions, read the parts that refer to your specific scholarship that you want to apply for, and focus on the key aspects. You have to think very well, and the process of application can be very useful, even for your own career. Even before you get a scholarship, a Fulbright scholarship, just the fact of applying, of thinking, what do I want to, our director says always, what do you want to do when you grow up? You know, and sometimes she says that to someone who, you know, already with gray hair and you know, she's 70 or whatever. What do you want to do when you grow up? But the idea is, we want the person applying to have a very clear idea where you want to go in your career, what do you want to achieve, why do you want to go to the US and not to another country. So it's not a question of just applying for a scholarship, but knowing exactly what you want to do. What institution do you want to go to? What university? Are you very interested in that university? And then the second question is the university very interested in you as well? We don't want to hear that you have a university ready to give you maybe a room so that you can do some study. They have to be interested in what you are doing and appreciate what you are going to do there. So that is part of the application. Yeah, so you need to do things in advance. So sometimes we get phone calls at the commission. I was there last week and someone was speaking, well, I want to start my this was a master's degree, I think, and they wanted to start in September. Well, it's too late, you know. You should have applied the year before. So you do your whole application process this year in order to start next year. Or to start, yes, as of the 1st of July of next year. So you have to plan in advance. And another very important part of the application is to write in plain English, as it says here, which means the committee assessing your application will be multidisciplinary. You may have people from government, from industry, from business. You may have academics as well, but not necessarily of your field. So when you write, if someone knows very well their topic, and you probably have had the experience of this when you go to some lectures, or someone who knows very, very well their topic are able to synthesize it and to tell it to you in very simple terms. You know, it's a very, very complicated thing, but they explain to you the same thing in simple terms so that everybody can understand it. So you have to be capable of doing that. And so if your field is physics, give your application to someone studying theater, you know, or if your field is maths, then give it to someone studying biology. Your field is economics, give it to someone who is into literature. So if someone like that can understand what you're trying to say, then it means that you are in the right path. Okay, there are some things that we have to put in the slideshows because they happen every year. Things like if you do an application, just click the submit button, because really there's the number of times that people don't do that. You know, that's part of the end. It can be very disappointing. So if you go to the website as well when you are doing your application, choose the postdoctoral option as well, because otherwise there's a problem. The system we use is called Embark, and is used by 160 countries in the world for the Fulbright scholarships. So it doesn't depend on us. We cannot just change the system, and it's very important for you to follow all the steps and the instructions there. You have a project proposal, so again, your project proposal has to be something clear and that shows very well what you want to do when you go there. A personal statement, what do you want to achieve in your career? How does this Fulbright experience will fit with your academic path? And then your referee reports, which are very important. Your referee reports must be glowing reference, must give you glowing references, not only saying so-and-so is a good student, or did a good job at during the PhD or something like that, generic. It has to be someone who knows you well and who can give a very good reference about you, and take into account that sometimes some people giving references are giving references for different applicants of Fulbright scholarship. So make sure that the person giving you a reference is going to give you a good reference. You cannot see the references that they are giving about you, but you can just chase them and tell them, please send the reference. I'm loading into the system for my application. But it is important that you know that the person who is going to give you the reference is going to be a glowing one. The kind of visa that you have is very similar to a diplomatic visa. So you have a special status. It's called the J1 visa, and you go there to the US, but must return to Australia and be here for 2 years after your scholarship period. So if you want to stay there for some reason, you are offered a job or whatever it is, the Commission will not support your staying there, because that's part of our rules. The idea for that the scholar should come back here is because we want the benefit of this program not only to you in particular, but also to the whole country through you. You will have different media opportunities. These opportunities arise all the time with newspapers, with sometimes television, with radio. Often when we gather all our scholars of the year for some, like the orientation program, for instance, often we have to manage that some of them have to go out and be interviewed by the local media or by a national newspaper or other media. So we try to give you advice on that and to prepare you to do that if you don't have already training in dealing with media. We have an alumni association and a whole alumni network, as I mentioned before. And one of the policies that we have worldwide is that we don't give feedback after you have applied. And so there are 3 reasons. The first reason is that it's a worldwide policy, and so we cannot modify it in Australia. The second one is that if we gave you feedback, it would be unfair not to give feedback to anyone else. So to all of the other applicants, and that would be impossible for us. We are a very small team, and as it is, we're very pressed with time always. So it would be unfair not to give feedback to everybody else. And the third one is that even if we gave you feedback, the application process is completely different from one year to another. Actually, we don't keep a record of who has not succeeded on applying for a Fulbright. So you can always apply again 1 or 2 times, the number of times that you want. And the pool of other applicants against whom you are competing will always be different. So 1 year you can be an average candidate, but next year you are really strong, and the year after you are really low. So it's not, it's almost pointless to offer feedback in those circumstances. So what we try to do is to give you forward feedback if you want to do it. So we try to give you as much indications on what we want, what the selection criteria are, and we go to every capital city in Australia and to try to give you as much information as possible so you can do a good application. The values we're looking for are passion about the field of study that you have, vision for yourself and for your field as well, what you want to achieve, excellence, innovation, which is creative thinking, how to do things in a different way if necessary, how good you are in partnerships as well, creating collaboration and linkages with the institutions that you are going to, and ambassadorial skills, which involve this leadership that we already spoke about, of thinking beyond yourself and having a purpose of benefiting more people and as many people as possible. We have also for universities the Fulbright Specialist Program. This specialist program is a program for universities to apply for grants and bring specialists from the US. So sometimes you are in a faculty and you have probably regular or occasional links with someone in a university in the US, and you say, well, it would be great if we could bring you here for a few weeks and we could just work together on this project. And so this specialist program is created for that. It's a grant for universities to bring specialists from the US. And if you need information about it, you can write to me, and I'm very happy to give you more information. Our sponsors, I have already mentioned the Australian government, the US government, many universities all across Australia, and some non-for-profit organizations and government departments are just there. We are constantly looking for new opportunities for funding to create new scholarships, and we go out of our way to do that if we can do it. You have our website address there and telephone numbers. I have asked several times, but the message doesn't go through yet. It's 9 to 5 Australian Eastern Standard Time, because so we should be mindful of that. Other parts of Australia are not in the Australian Eastern Standard Time. So anyway, sorry for that. It's 9 to 5 in Canberra time. We have Dr. Ruth Lee Martin and Fiona Goggins. They are the people directly related with the scholarships. So you can send them any queries. Do you have any questions about this? I think we have a microphone so that whoever asks a question will be recorded over there. So if you have any questions, I'll give you a microphone. Yeah. Thank you.
Do you already need to be in a postdoctoral program in order to apply for this scholarship?
No. You the requirement is that you have finished your PhD. You're within the first 3 years of having finished. Not necessarily. I mean, you might want to start a postdoctoral program in the US. That's not going to you.
And let's say if I submit my PhD in September or October this year, can I still apply in August for postdoctoral scholarship?
Okay, so you submit this year, and then at some point your conferral comes, and then you want to apply next year for say?
How about this year?
Well, you can. So as long as you have submitted, you can apply.
Yeah.
But if you have any trouble with the final approval of your thesis, then you cannot receive a scholarship.
Yeah.
But many times applicants submit, then they apply more or less at that time, and then that the process may take 3 months, 4 months, and then you receive final
approval for examination.
So yes, if you have submitted, then you can apply.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much. That would be all.
So in one of the criteria for applying was that you have to be a US citizen, an Australian citizen. Are you referring about the residency or the actual citizenship?
Yeah, citizenship. Okay. Not only residency. Yeah. Yes?
Yes. On the topic of residency, in the application slide, it said that you had to have been an Australian resident for the previous 2 years. Is that continuous residency? For example, if I have a 6-month fellowship in Europe beforehand that results in my having residency in another country, does that break it up and I have to wait 2 years before?
Yeah, I would say that the rule is 2 years, so that means that you were only a year and a half. But we could always I could always check. So if that is your situation and you are thinking of applying now, as opposed to next year, for instance, then we could I could find out for you and
situation that I'm in, for example, I'm an Australian citizen by birth, but I hold an Endeavour Fellowship, or I'm going to hold an Endeavour Fellowship. I just wasn't sure whether I need to wait 2 years after I come back before I could apply.
So you already have the Endeavour Scholarship, or?
Yeah, well, I'm going in a few months. Yeah.
Okay, so you are going to go there and then you come back and.
Yeah. So does that kind of thing cause problems?
Yeah, so you were thinking of applying before you take the Endeavour applying for Fulbright as well?
Well, my intention was to apply the next year, but obviously that would be 2 years.
Yeah. So if there is an exception to that rule of 2 years, then it's better to ask, and then we can assess, the situation one way.
Okay, thanks very much.
So in your presentation you spoke to the fact that you're looking for well-rounded candidates, and there are several personal attributes that you're looking for, and you do a Skype interview to assess for those?
Yes. So part of the application, as you know, is a written assessment, and then we have the interviews, and usually for the Australian applicants we have a face-to-face interview, and then for the Americans, because it's impossible, very difficult to do the interviews there, we have a Skype interview. So usually the Skype interview is for Americans because of the distance, and for Australians we have a personal interview. Yes.
Okay, and also in the application the people have to talk to their personal qualities. Is that right? They have to provide a statement about the leadership and community activities in which they've been engaged and how they've demonstrated a all-rounded profile. Could you please speak to that?
Yes, thank you. So the idea is that in the personal statement part that we had in part of the application process. So the project proposal refers to what you are going to research, and then the personal statement is something about you, your personality, and your goals as a human being, if you know what I mean, and how you have tried to live this leadership ambassadorial skills in the sense that we have spoken about. If you care about more than just your own, say your own job or your own research and nothing else, if you have an interest in helping others in the community in different ways, or in supporting different projects that may benefit other people around you. So it is difficult to define it very concretely, because we cannot say, okay, those of you who don't have a volunteer record in this field, then you cannot apply for a scholarship. No, that's not the case. But we want to know that you have broader ideas than just some work in your personal field. That is part of being a Fulbright scholar. Yes?
Going on that, the referees, obviously it's not just anyone from your department or anything like that, but what's the criteria for referees?
Yeah, thank you for that question, because it reminds me that sometimes it is important, before I go to the referees themselves, the letter of invitation from the university to which you are going should be a good, almost like a reference as well. So they should explain why they want you there. It's not just a letter of invitation saying, ideally, not just a letter of invitation saying, we know so and so and we're happy to receive her or him in our university. They should also say, because of this and this and this, and this is what this person is going to bring here. Regarding referees, sometimes you may have a referee that is someone who knows you very well in the academic field, and then another one who knows you very well in the personal field, excluding your mom or someone like that. There have been cases in someone just brings a very close relative, but someone who knows you from the personal point of view, someone who may know you from the leadership point of view as well, those skills that are community engagement or some other things that you have been doing. So if the referees can tell different things about, different good things about you, then that helps you process it. I don't know if was that the question?
Thank you.
Anyone else? Excellent. Look, if you have any other particular question, I'm very happy to I'll be here for a few minutes. And you can write to us whenever you want as well, or go to our website or call us. We're very happy to hear from you. And I hope you have many applications from